Okay, I want you to see some more passages to show that Jesus was living out both the top and the bottom line in his life and in his ministry. The next passage we're going to look at is found in Matthew chapter 8. It says this: When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. "Lord," he said, "my servant lies at home paralyzed and in terrible suffering." Jesus said to him, "I will go and heal him." The centurion replied, "Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I say to this one, 'Go,' and he goes, and that one, 'Come,' and he comes. I say to my servant, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was astonished and said to those following him, "Not bad for a Gentile." No, that's not what he says. What does he say? He says, "I tell you the truth, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and will take their places at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom of this world will be thrown outside into the darkness where there will be the weeping and the gnashing of teeth." Then Jesus said to the centurion, "Go, it will be done just as you believed it would." And his servant was healed that very hour. Oh, this passage is very key to see how Jesus is elevating Gentiles even over Jews. I want you to look at the Luke passage, which is a parallel passage to this, Luke chapter 17, and I want you to find some key things in here. Luke chapter 7 says this: The centurion heard of Jesus and sent some elders of the Jews to him, asking him to come and heal his servant. When they came to Jesus, they pleaded earnestly with him, "This man deserves to have you do this, because he loves our nation and has built our synagogue." First off, do you see what's happening? The elders are trying to say, "Look, you ought to have him, Jesus, you ought to heal this guy because he gives money and he helped build the synagogue, and money talks. And it's all about our synagogue. It's all about our nation." It was very much an A greater than B perspective. They put Jesus off probably by giving this self-centered, what we would call cat theology, this cat statement of, "Oh, Jesus, yeah, you ought to do this because this guy has given money and money talks." What does Jesus do? He says, "I tell you the truth, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith." What was he doing? He dared to hold up the faith of an officer of the enemy, a non-Jewish person, a Gentile. He said, "This Gentile has got more faith than any of you guys who are the elders." Jesus had inflicted a wound. He inflicted a wound into the heart of Jews to say that Gentiles could have more faith than them. After inflicting the wound, Jesus begins to rub salt into the wound to make sure it stings. He says these words: "I say to you that many will come from the east and the west." Now, anytime you see the words east and west, what's east of Jerusalem? What's west of Jerusalem? Well, the rest of the world. That's right. So when it says north, south, east, and west, that's another way of saying all nations. By saying the east and the west, what Jesus is saying, many will come from all the nations on the face of the earth. And then what does it say? What's going to happen to those people who come from all nations? They will take their places at the feast. Now, two key things there, taking their places and the feast. Let's talk about the feast first. What is a feast? A feast was a time to celebrate. Back in the Jewish days, a feast was a celebration time. It's something that the prodigal son's father did for his son when he came home. He killed the fatted calf. He invited the entire village. It would last a day or two or three or four. It was a great celebration. That's what feasts were. Very different from a meal. A meal, you eat it, you finish up, you clean up, you do the dishes, and then you're done. No, a feast was a celebration. It was a celebration. And who was at that celebration? At the head of the table was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, if you haven't watched the other series where we talk about that, have you ever wondered why God comes on the scene and says, "Hi, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob"? Have you ever studied their lives? They're very, very different. in holiness. Abraham is the founding father of our faith, yes, but Abraham flagrantly lied twice to save himself and made his wife go through terrible things. My daughter Elise in our youth Bible study said, I never want to marry a scumbag like Abraham. What about Isaac? Well, there's not much text on Isaac. Just a couple of paragraphs. And in those paragraphs, he too lies like his father. Okay, what about Jacob? Oh, the deceiver. I get it. I see a common pattern here. Okay, you're the God of the deceivers, right? You're the God who deceives. Is that what you want to be known for? No, that's not what God is saying. Why does he call himself the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Those are the only three men that God made the covenant to redeem people from every tongue, every tribe, and every nation. He gave it 3 times to Abraham, once to Isaac, and once to Jacob. 5 times he repeated the covenant. What is he saying? He's saying, you want to know my business card? You want to know my calling card? I'm a God who's made a commitment to redeem people from all nations on the face of the earth. And I'm going to use sinners in the process to make that happen. I'm the God of Abraham, I'm the God of Isaac, and I'm the God of Jacob. And notice what it says. They will take their places at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Notice it doesn't say crash the party. They're going to crash the party and say, hey, we weren't invited, but we want to be here too. No, there are places in heaven with reservations for people from every tongue, every tribe, and every nation. And at this party, we are going to be celebrating the fulfillment of the promise that God gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to redeem people from every tongue, every tribe, and every nation. You and I will be there with people from every nation partying, talking about God's faithfulness in fulfilling His covenant. And then what does Jesus go and do? After speaking about all nations coming to a party in heaven with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob there with reservations in their name, he says, but the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside into the darkness, where there will be the weeping and the gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, go, it will be done just as you believed it would. And his servant was healed at that very hour. Jesus lifted up the faith of a Gentile to the point that he pointed to the fact that all nations are going to be reached and that Gentiles can actually have more faith. They can actually have a better faith and trust in God than people of the faith. How does this apply to our lives? Well, are there people in your life where you think, oh, Jesus isn't going to heal them, or Jesus isn't going to do anything to them, or they're so sinful, they're so far out of it that Jesus is never going to touch them. He'll never open up himself and reveal himself to them. Maybe it's drug dealers or pimps or prostitutes, and we've totally written them off. Be careful. They may have a greater faith than you and me because of what they've been forgiven of. Their love for Jesus can be so great. Ask God to surprise you by giving you someone that you never thought would come to know the Lord, and yet who comes to know the Lord and has a strong faith, maybe even stronger than yours. Never put God in a box.